All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Circuit Stream's first ever virtual house. So just checking in, want to make sure that everyone can hear me and see me clearly. If you guys could let me know, I've got a hi, Lou, so that's perfect. Thank you, Laurie. And with that, where are you guys tuning in from? We are broadcasting from Calgary, Canada today. So you should have access to the chat there. Please let us know whereabouts in the world are you joining us from. Excellent. So I see some chats rolling in there. That's fantastic. Super excited about today's session and to launch our first open house with everyone who's in attendance. So without further ado, why don't we kick things off? My name is Lou Puschelberg. I'm the founder and CEO here at Circuit Stream. I've been working in the VR and the AR industry for a long time. So I'm really excited to have you all here today to share some of the kind of trends that we see in the industry, as well as some of the backgrounds on our instructors and some of our alumni. So just a quick background on me. I actually started working in VR in 2015. I was working on one of the first social VR companies. It was a company called Converge. You can look it up. Converge.co was the old website. I have a bachelor's degree in media information technology, as well as studies in new ventures leadership. So I'm going to be your host today. I'm going to be introducing the other guest speakers who are going to join me on the stage. And we are going to cover, all of Circuit Stream's programs, as well as kind of some of the capabilities, trends in the industry, and hopefully share some information on the different opportunities in the AR and VR sector, whether you're looking at, building some type of location-based experiences, whether you're looking at building professional simulations and training applications, either in augmented reality or in virtual reality. We're going to talk about some of our courses and how we, dig into topics around spatial interfaces and UI and UX design, specifically for the medium of spatial computing. Talk about face filters, 3D object recognition and model recognition, how some of our new individual courses that we're releasing actually cover face tracking, computer vision, and 3D model detection. Talk about how we can invent new operating systems, right, that involve hand tracking, new forms of user input and interaction based on virtual reality and augmented reality hardware and sensors and devices. And then really kind of finally, talk about if you have ideas for next generation applications that use things like gestures or 3D audio and sound. These are all things that are really exciting topics in the industry for us, and that we hope to kind of cover and dive deeper on starting today and going forward with some of the new programs that we're going to share with you guys today. So really quick, I'll give you guys an overview for those new to Circuit Stream. Who are we and what do we do? So we've been around for quite a while, like I mentioned, in the XR industry. The company was actually founded in 2015. Since then, we've been very privileged to have reached over 30,000 learners, people just like yourselves, people tuning into the stream today who are interested either for personal reasons or in a business setting, or maybe even an educational setting around pursuing and building skills for VR and AR design and development. We're a Unity authorized training partner and channel partner. So we're actually a reseller of Unity licenses and software, as well as kind of a provider of Unity certified training. And then we're also an Oculus independent software vendor and in the application process right now to become a Microsoft mixed reality partner. So been doing this for a long time, lots of good partnerships with peers in the organization. I have a really great community that we're building here and excited to share that with you guys. Okay, so I'm going to be joined today by Jerry Maideros. Quick bio on Jerry. Jerry's a senior VR developer, instructor, and the head of education at CircuitStream. He has over 10 years of experience in the 3D simulation, training, and gaming industry. Jerry holds a bachelor's degree in games technology, as well as a master's degree in computer science from the Federal State University of Rio de Janeiro and the Leibniz Hannover University in Germany. Jerry is based in São Paulo, Brazil, and has experience working with the military on VR training simulations, as well as being a game programming lead at TAPS Games, where he was responsible for shipping multiple hit mobile titles, including Bid Wars and My Boo. Jerry is a Unity certified instructor and teaches the C# Fundamentals course and XR Project Accelerator course at CircuitStream. So we're very privileged to have Jerry joining today's stream. We're going to dive into Jerry's story, understand his journey into the XR world, and ultimately how he got to kind of where he is now. He's our head of education. He's one of our lead instructors and a senior VR and AR developer. So excited to hear him just explain a little bit about his story of entering into the industry. So with that, Jerry, I'm going to invite you on stage. We're going to kick things off. I'm just going to do some screen juggling here. If you want to join me, I'm just going to take this stream down. There we go. So,
all right. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me and see me well? Yes. Nope.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. All right.
So, I mean, Jerry, just in the interest of providing the audience with some context, why don't we start with the beginning? You are a Unity professional. You have been for a long time. You're a long-time user of the engine. And you've been working in the industry for quite a long time, even before VR and AR were a thing. I'm curious, how did you get started working with Unity, working with 3D engines?
Great, cool. So yeah, I started that like 10 years or more ago, and Unity was not a thing, like was not super accessible. It was in the very beginning. I went to the university to study game technology. So I took a degree on developing games. And it was quite confusing at the time. Like most of the technologies that we had, the engines, they were super low level. We need to dive into the very specific things about the engines. And it was super hard to make like a cool game with a few people. Like if you have like 3-4 friends, it was not possible to make like a super interesting game. And then we started to dive into Unity at the time. Like it was very, very at the early stages, not super powerful as it is today, but it had a potential. It was free to some extent at the time. So we started digging into Unity and learning it more and more. So one of the good things about Unity, in my opinion, at that time specifically, is that we could actually just join a couple of people and make something cool, deploy to mobile devices, which was a very, very huge challenge at the time. The mobile phones, they were not super powerful as they are today. So Android was not a thing. It was starting to be a thing, like Android and iOS. So as soon as it became more popular, it was a little bit more easier for us to publish games. So I started with games, and the engine comes in that frame, like helping me to build interesting games. But then a couple of years after that, I started to get involved with a couple of projects for bigger companies here in Brazil. As you mentioned, the Army as well. They were trying to find partners to build things, to train their personnel in a safe and cheap way. So VR and AR is like the perfect frame for that, because we can actually like teach them how to survive in specific situations without the risk of that. So I started building a couple of simulations for the Army, for companies in the oil and gas industry. It's super strong here. The mining industry as well. So Unity is the game engines, and especially the Unity in this context is like super powerful and easy to use, easy to get into. And yeah, and I think that's it. It's been like 10 years working on that on a daily basis. I'm more than glad to share a little bit of that experience with you guys today.
Awesome. So, I mean, just riffing from that, you mentioned that you were building kind of military as well as oil and gas simulations, some early work in virtual reality. What year was that? Like, was that the generation of the Oculus DK1 or 2, or was it even earlier? What was this kind of state of the industry at that time?
Yeah, it was even earlier. We worked with a couple of proprietary technology in the army specifically. Like they don't, most of the times they don't use the majority of the platforms that are out there, but for safety reasons. So they have like internal technology and they build their own headsets most of the time. But yeah, that's insane. But that's how it works. So everything in the army is super, super secret and specific. Most of the times they build their own technology, and this is good because the industry, in the end, they just learn from that as well. But I used a couple of interesting technologies, such as the cave. It's not something that people use nowadays anymore, but it was a thing. It's basically like a room with a couple of projections, and you can just go into there and use a couple of glasses to track your position. It's like a very weird technology, but it was powerful at the time. I used the Vive as well in a couple of projects at the time, but Oculus, especially the Oculus Quest, it was not a reality when I was working for those companies. Combat Sim, yeah, they have a lot of Combat Sim. I didn't work on Combat Sim specifically. I worked on a shooting simulator. Like I don't know how much I can talk about that, but well, maybe I'm not gonna go to jail. Here in Brazil, they were replacing the rifle that the personnel uses for a new one, and it was like 200,000 of those, and it was super hard to get all of them on time for everyone to be trained. So we built like a simulation where they learn how to assemble, disassemble, clean, and shoot using this thing without being hurt and without causing damage to the equipment. So yeah. So there's a variety of things. Most of the times it's the high end ones at that time, like the Cave and the Vive. At the time, it was like the super powerful thing. We didn't have the Index, but especially for the military, they have like their own technology as well, which is very similar, but it's like protected with own hardware. They know that that's not gonna be spoiled in any way. Yep.
So, I mean, you obviously got started very, very early, you know, when headsets were $10,000 or more rather than what they are now, which is $300 with the Oculus Quest 2. So, you know, that was many years ago, and I'm sure kind of Unity as a tool, not to mention the hardware, has improved incredibly. Maybe you could talk a little bit about some of your more recent work in XR.
More recently, like in just before I joined Circuit Stream, we were working on a couple of projects for mining industry here. So one of the projects that I can cite, one of the bad things about working for those big companies, that most of the projects, they are super secret, so we cannot just jump and share a couple of videos, which is not super cool. But one of the interesting projects that I can remember, like the super recent one that I worked, it was a ship loader. So say, for example, you have like tons of ore, iron ore, and you need to load a ship. There are just a few people in the world that know how to do this thing because it's super like dangerous. The ore never stops, and you need to balance them in the ship in the way that it doesn't break in this, like in the middle, and you need to balance those things. So we built a simulation for that. It was super, super complex because it was not only the visual part of it, like, well, people just wear the headset and operate the thing, but also they need to have like the physics simulation, which is very, very, very accurate. So we worked with lots of people, like designers, developers, but also engineers, like in the field, subject matter experts that would like to ensure that the process is working. So it's this is one interesting thing about working with VR technology, especially when we're building training. You need to go into the site, like you need to go on site and understand what are the needs, why they're using this technology, and how we can use it to leverage the training and improve the business. So yes, there's this one in the oil and gas. There was a really interesting one as well. There are the platforms, like the floating platforms here that are in the ocean, and they can only go there with a specific training. It's super like dangerous operation, and we had to model like the entire platform so people can know where things are, how to navigate around it and not get lost before they go there. So they spend like less time training on site, like on the platform. So we model a couple of the platforms for the biggest oil industry here in Brazil, which is Petrobras. You probably know that or have heard about that. So yeah, those are the most recent ones that I can remember. And now we have been working with our students in a couple of projects. I'm going to show a couple of them in a while, but the students that join us, all of them have their own projects. They are either starting their VR career and they want to just learn, but a couple of them are in the industry already, in the medical industry, or they are trainers and they want to build like education platforms. But there are a couple of interesting things that we have been building together with our students as well.
Cool. So follow-on question, whether it's like a simulation, a training simulation for the oil and gas, or it's your work with one of our students who maybe have, you know, their own ideas to build experience or application, what does your process typically look like, or what's best practice in terms of the, you know, process for starting a VR and AR project?
Well, the first thing that we need to go into is basically identifying what we need. Like, what is because one thing that I need to mention is that it's not easy to build an application. It doesn't matter if it's VR, AR, but it takes some time, and we need to focus on the most important things. So I think that the first thing we usually do with the students as well is discuss what they want to achieve, like what's the most important thing about it, what do you want to deliver. And then we understand what is the requisite, like what they need, and we build from there. So the second thing is the quality of the application. Like, we don't need to build something which is huge, like which is impressive, but we need to solve a problem. So what's the best way of solving that problem? And then we can write like a design document for that, so we know everyone is communicating the idea in a good way. Everyone has the same vision. Something that I often see in projects, especially if you have more than one person working on that, is every person has their own vision of how this project's going to be in the end. So having that documented in a way that everyone understands it makes the process easier. But I would say the process that we usually take is like that. We identify what's the problem. Then we discuss a couple of solutions or ideas on how we can solve that problem. We build a very small prototype and test that. And then we iterate over that until we have like the perfect experience that we want. But we need to work like in the small bits and until we have the entire thing figured out.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. And I know that's something that we use internally too. And our team has built projects in the past, whether it's you're building it as an individual or a team internally, or whether you're building a project alongside with a client or a customer. It's been really important for us to have that design document so we get that common kind of, you know, what's in our mind's eye is equal to what's in the client's mind's eye, and everyone's on the same page into what it is that you're building. So Jerry, you had mentioned having a few projects or portfolio pieces to share some of your work and that of our students. You know, with a few minutes left here in this first session, it would be great if you could share some of that and talk us through it.
Sure. So I would like to share just a couple of examples of what is possible to do with a couple of hours. Like this is, let me find it here. Okay, so let me start with this one while the other one finishes updating. So this is what we have been building to teach people how to what's possible in terms of VR interaction. So this is like a playground with different interactions, and you can actually build whatever you want in here. We have been using this for one of our courses. So you can see here that this is teleportation, a couple of buttons. There is the hammer in there that I was using, and then we have this gun. So basically, we focus on teaching the very fundamental things of VR, like how to make something interactable, interactions are comfortable, and then you can expand from that. Because basically, once you need the core of Unity, the core of programming and interaction, you can do wherever you think about. So let me share a couple more experience that we have in here. This one, for example, this was built for one of our instructors as well. So basically, if you notice, the range of interaction is very similar, but here in this case, it's just like a spell casting environment. So you can make that into a game, but that could be a training as well. So that's basically how we try to bring our students to the VR world. Like, we work on the fundamentals, and then they have like the tools that they need to build more complex stuff. Something went wrong. Okay, I'm back.
No worries, you're back.
Yeah, let me see.
So Jerry, there was a good question in the chat, and we are going to be taking more questions at the end of today's session in a Q&A. But I think it would be worth answering just from Tony Redfern there. He's asking, what courses are these demos from?
Well, they are actually for the variety of courses that we have. If it's a VR course, we're going to be seeing how to make all of those things. The interactions one here was for the Oculus Quest specifically, because there are a couple of hand tracking there, and not every single device supports hand tracking. But the basis of VR, we're going to be seeing in the 10 weeks course, for example. So the second one, which is the Spellcast, you could build that in the Oculus Quest course, or you could build that in the 10 weeks course as well, for example. And if we're more advanced, you could build something on top of that on the accelerator. But the accelerator is built for people that already have a project, like an interesting project, and just want to finish that, polish that, publish that. So all of the VR courses, they give you the ability to build something like that. So it's just to show like the possibilities, what we can actually do. There was another one here, but it's failing when I try. Okay, let me see if I can. There's another one, but I'm not sure if the format's not supported. It's just not playing.
No worries. If it doesn't work, we can always jump over.
Sure. Let's one last try. I think it's gonna work now.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So this is like a simulation of. This was built for by one of the students. So it's like a clone of the toothbrush application, where you can actually select color and paint on the ground or in the air. So this is basically another possibility that our students can build in a couple of hours after taking one of those courses. So I think that the important message here is that it doesn't matter what you want to build in VR. We give you the tools, like the fundamentals, everything that we need to know on how to make these applications comfortable, and then it's up to your creativity. And with the support of the instructors, you can build like whatever you think about. So those are just a couple of examples of things that we build with our students when they are starting to get into this world.
Awesome. And we actually have an alumni with us here today. He's backstage. So I think that would be a good segue. Jerry is going to come back to talk about some of the new individual courses that we recently launched, give you guys a bit more details on those courses, as well as some of the outcomes, what you can expect from these programs. And then Jerry will be back again for the Q&A. So Jerry, thank you very much.
See you in a while.
Appreciate your story. See you in a bit. I'm going to shoot over the slides here and introduce one of our alumni from CircuitStream. His name is Mike Waldron. So I will just get the slides up here. And I'm going to pull up his bio. Okay, so we have Mike backstage. So Mike was a 2019 graduate from CircuitStream's XR development with Unity course and is a current student enrolled in the XR Project Accelerator. Recently, Mike transitioned into an XR project lead at his current company, which is Lockheed Martin, where he works and is responsible for the development of XR programs like the company's new virtual maintenance trainer for the Super Hercules aircraft. In addition to his work at Lockheed Martin, Mike founded his own XR studio named Propel VR and has recently begun working with a major research university and health sciences center to develop a medical VR training project. To learn a little bit more about Mike's studio, Propel VR, you can visit propelvr.ca. And with that, I want to invite Mike onto the stage, and I'm going to have some questions for Mike, and he's going to share, like Jerry, kind of his background and story about getting into the XR industry. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, Lou. Thanks for having me on. First off, just glad to be here and have the invite. And quick audio check. Can you hear me, Lou? Everyone in the chat?
Absolutely. I can hear
great.
you, Mike, and appreciate you joining us. So loud and clear from my end.
Fantastic.
So, Mike, similar to Jerry, tell us a little bit about your journey. Where did you start, and how did you get into XR?
Yeah, so I got into XR, I would say in a 2016 timeframe, mostly as kind of I've always been a big gamer and kind of a self-proclaimed geek. So I was aware of it for a long time, and my first headset was the HTC Vive. My good friend Richard, who has worked with CircuitStream and instructed, was kind of the first guy who introduced it to me. And I had actually been a bit skeptical until I first tried it, but I was absolutely blown away at how advanced the technology was even in the first generation HTC Vive, timeline. And so that's, I kind of became interested back then, and took the first 10-week course at CircuitStream, and I was fortunate enough around that time that Lockheed Martin, my employer, is very supportive of continuing education and aware of what I was doing. So started to put projects in front of me in the XR space to leverage my interest there. So the virtual maintenance trainer project started around the same time. So I feel very fortunate to have a seat where I get to work on XR at my day job. And it was a couple of years after that, maybe more like 1 year after that the idea for the studio really came more into fruition. I would say it was kind of when the pandemic hit, found some more time on my hands at home. Me and my co-founders, got more serious about the studio, got incorporated with an incubator here in Ottawa, in Canada. So that's a little bit about how I got into the industry, and the 2 or 3 year journey from a casual interest to getting to do this most of the time in my working life.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't actually know about the incubator, so that's a little nugget that I learned today. I wanted to ask you, and I do want to get to some of the work you're doing at Lockheed on the Hercules aircraft. That sounds super interesting, as well as your work at Propel VR. Before we go there, I was curious, back when Richard had shared VR with you and you had tried the Vive, was there a specific experience or app that really just locked it in for you, and you had that kind of aha moment of like, hey, this is something I want to get into and do?
I would actually say the aha moment came, around maybe 2016 to 2015 timeframe, even before I even had my own VR headset. And it was when I was working in the nuclear industry. Actually, before I worked at Lockheed Martin, I studied aerospace, and it's always been my passion. But out of school, I worked for a few years in the nuclear industry, just where I landed my first job. And I was shocked back then. I went through quite a rigorous training program, and I was shocked at the amount of physical simulation still done, like mocking up entire reactor control rooms at great expense. And I remember thinking then, this was kind of the aha moment for me. I was like, you could do this with, even the $10,000, $20,000 headsets back then, because a lot of it's, actually relatively simple principles that they're teaching you for emergency preparedness drills, And it's about ingraining muscle memory. So these were not, you didn't need high fidelity VR devices. You could do this with technology even prior to the Vive. So that was kind of where the idea popped into my head of the applications that like, wow, this is going to be a huge space. And that kind of actually festered for a while until Richard introduced me and I bought my first headset. Actually, I can credit my fiance. She got me my first headset for Christmas. Just the Christmas before 2017 there, and it was like, what? This is way too much of a gift. But now I'm so much more into it, and I can credit her with that. And yeah.
That's great. Again, a nugget of the story that I hadn't heard before. So this is awesome. I'm enjoying just hearing some of the zigs and zags that kind of got you to where you are today. So you mentioned you working in kind of nuclear engineering. You had this aha moment of seeing how much physical simulation was being done. I was curious, like, before we get into some of your experience at CircuitStream, did you have, like, what was your experience in 3D like, or working with 3D engines at that time? Have you had any prior 3D experience?
It's a great question. The short answer is no. The more interesting answer is in engineering school, we did do coding, and so I was C++, a passable C++ coder. And as a gamer, I was quite heavy into modding. I was one of these guys who put together different collections of mods and shared them, and did a couple, not too crazy, but a couple mods myself as well. So that was kind of as far as it went. So I came into the 10-week course, I would say very much a newbie. I had a bit of coding background, but only 1 or 2 years in school, and it had been 5 or 6 years since then at that point already. So so definitely very accessible. That's the 10-week course. You don't need to be a developer to get into it. I had an interest and a hobby, and that was about it. So yeah, no, I didn't have any game design or Unity or Unreal experience before the 10-week course. So
yeah, that's good to know. And now you have your own studio and are working on the Hercules aircraft project at Lockheed Martin. So it's a pretty dramatic shift, which is obviously we love to see. You mentioned the course. Just I think for the audience and the people who might be considering it or considering getting into the industry more generally, it would probably be helpful just to hear from you some of the highlights, what the benefits were, how and if you stayed connected. Just hearing from your perspective, what you really valued from working with our team.
For sure. Yeah, no, it was an incredible amount of content in 10 weeks when I look back, and very well delivered, because if you're putting in a little bit of homework time, you can keep up. And it's but then when I look back, I'm like, wow, I learned so much in that amount of time. So big credit to Ozzy, who was my instructor, and Nikisa for my one-on-ones. I can really say, they took my project at the time, which was I was working on a demo for a lockout tagout kind of mechanical trainer demo, and they took it from kind of a messy collection of imports and prefabs into a functional focused application. So yeah, I really can't say enough. And it took me to a point with the project where it was a good prototype, and the momentum carried in the months after, where I continued to work on it and kind of develop my own skills, and came back to CircuitStream for a couple more courses. So just over the last summer, the short course for Oculus Quest with the hand tracking, I think it was a 2 or 3 day course. That was a great one. And then now, just more recently in the cohort for the XR Project Accelerator, which is phenomenal for the projects that we're working on now. And not just in the defense space, some of the projects now we're working on in the healthcare space, as you mentioned as well.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. So, I mean, maybe we should get into a little bit about that, because you have this really interesting story in that, we're working on these projects with you, and it kind of bifurcates between the defense space, which is your day job, and then healthcare space, which is kind of like your studio that you're operating in parallel. I mean, we also had a great question. I don't know if you can answer this given confidentiality, but from David Jumeau. He was asking the Hercules CI 130J or later, pardon me. So maybe you can answer.
Yeah,
David.
that one. So like Jerry, there's some things I can say and some things I can't, but this one is totally fine. It is the CC 130J. For Canada, they throw an extra C in there. So yeah, in most countries it's the C130J, the Super Hercules. Here it's the CC 130J. Canada does fly the older variations as well. I don't work directly on those. They're kind of sunsetting. You won't see them in the skies for too many more years. But the J model was just brought online less than 10 years ago. So the airplanes are still pretty new, just kind of coming out of their honeymoon phase, as we say in the maintenance world.
There you go, David. So you have your answer. Thank you, Mike. So the other part of side of that fork is the medical space. You've graduated the XR development course. You're in the Project Accelerator right now. And while kind of working in the real world simultaneously, maybe you can talk to us a little bit about Propel VR and some of the medical training simulation work that you're doing.
For sure, yeah, for sure. So, and it's been an interesting transition. Like you said, it's pretty two distinct spaces. So, on the Lockheed side, it's maintenance. I saw David ask about flight sims. No, it's actually flight sims. Everyone's familiar with very fancy flight simulators, and it's hard to dethrone that, honestly. So, there is some mixed reality going on in the flight sim space, but the projects that I'm involved with are actually in the maintenance training, because maintenance training falls between the cracks compared to flight simulators a lot of the times. So there's a higher need. And I wanted to pull on that thread that Jerry had mentioned about, when you're looking for a project as a developer, you need to look for the need. And with the maintenance, it's because flight gets all the funding and the focus that it seems like for the maintenance guys, there's a feeling of desperation. And they turn to commercial solutions quite a bit, consumer headsets, and they're turning to engines like Unity more and more as well, because they're realizing it's cheaper for where these needs really are. And then in the healthcare space, the need and kind of what helped with the pivot there is obviously there's a global pandemic, and it's affecting a lot of ways that the healthcare industry is working. So with the university we're working with in Ontario here, there's a difficulty in getting medical residents in for placements in emergency rooms where there are a lot of critical, potentially unstable patients, because they don't want to introduce new people, new potential infection vectors into those spaces. So if you're a junior resident and you're not actually really useful yet, they don't always want you in there. So they're turning to things like pre-recorded 360-degree content, for example, as a quick fix. But in the long run, they want to do this in VR for higher fidelity, more immersive 6 degrees of freedom type experiences. So that's what we're working on there. We're working on basically the first couple scenarios out of a virtual emergency room for junior residents or even medical students before they get into the residency phase. So that's a really, really cool project as well. And that's kind of what we're in the thick of now at Propel VR. We're due to showcase the proof of concept in January. So, if you do check out the website, circle back in a couple of months for some videos of that. And then they hope to grow that into quite the platform. So yeah.
Awesome. So, I mean, just maybe, we've got a few minutes left here. I have two questions for you. And I think there was a really good question from Laszlo in the chat too. So I think we should circle back on that one before finishing off. But, I think for people who are just getting started, it would be really beneficial to know, like, how did you make the connection? How did you start working with this local university? Because it sounds like, an amazing project that could, to your point around solving a problem, providing utility, be really beneficial in terms of cost savings, time savings. But how did you actually light the spark or get that project started with the university?
That's a great question, and it was quite a ride. So we started out in the maintenance world in early 2020 when we founded the studio, and while we were at the incubator Invest Ottawa, they had a fantastic pre-accelerator program, which really made us focus on the need. And we realized the more imminent need was in the healthcare space. So we looked at how could we pivot And for me, I had a strong background. I'm not a medical professional. I have a lot of experience in the engineering space, but very, very little knowledge there. So, it was like, how could I pivot into this and be successful with my studio? And my co-founders also have fantastic backgrounds, but again, none of them are doctors. So we looked at, I have a common ground with, what informed the pivot was a demo I did in personal protective equipment, PPE, which was obviously a big key component in the theme of prevention for the pandemic, and also a big key component in the nuclear industry for preventing contamination. And so kind of use that to pivot to the healthcare space. And we actually won the whole competition for that accelerator program. There's a pitch finale at the end, and we got a lot of momentum from the win, to be honest. So we got approached by a small medical corporation in Kingston, Ontario, who signed us for our very first customer was this small clinic, and they actually referred us to the university. So, I would say if you can get involved in local communities like incubators or tech startup communities, these are great programs to build yourself some momentum and explore how you can use your own experience in your day job, which I'm sure you guys all have something that you can use. Like for me, it was this prevention idea and the PPE that kind of allowed for some credibility and a pivot into a vertical healthcare, which I didn't think I would be working in 2 years ago. So yeah, use the communities. CircuitStream has a fantastic community as well. It's specific for Unity or XR development. So if you choose to take the 10-week course, you get access to that phenomenal community as well. And you can really look for peers and support in the community, as well as directly from obviously instructors.
Awesome. Yeah. So, just to summarize, there's a couple key points there, like you mentioned, like communities, whether it's a community like ours or an accelerator, and a lot of pivots. That's something that we're really familiar with as well. And then finally, what it seems like just a lot of hustle from your end and getting these introductions and chasing down opportunities. And that might be a good segue into kind of my final question, and I'm gonna borrow it from Laszlo. I mentioned the hustle. Like, it seems like you've got your day job, you have Propel, you're taking courses with us. His or her question was, how do you balance the time investment in work, study, and life?
It's a really good question, and it's an ongoing evolution, I would say, to find that balance. It changes over time, and the pandemic was a big displacer for my personal schedule. I'm sure it was for many people. So that actually worked to my favor at the beginning. Honestly, I had a lot more time after my working hours at Lockheed Martin to work on this stuff. And also, my interest in gaming has translated well to working with game engines like Unity, because it's just as fun for me in the off hours. But you're right, there is a need for balance for sure. So I do have to park aside days where I'm not doing this. And I would say, yeah, I'm blessed in that Lockheed is pretty flexible too. So look for flexibility with your regular employer as well. Things like working condensed schedules Monday to Thursday and taking Fridays off, which is something that I asked and was approved for. So that gave me a whole extra day during the week, which I could work on my XR projects. So you find where your interest lies and where your threshold is for how many hours you're willing to give in to doing this, outside of work time. And then you can also look for flexibility with your actual work time. And like I said, I was fortunate to have that flexibility, but I think if you're open to it, most employers nowadays, especially with the pandemic, telecommuting is a different kind of working. So I think flexibility, like working 4/10s instead of a conventional schedule, is becoming more common anyway. So, you never know until you ask. You're right, it's a bit of a hustle, but I think you'll find there's some flexibility there for sure.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's something that probably a lot of people struggle with, is they're trying to make a change or make a transition. So, Mike, thank you so much for all of our viewers today. Mike is going to be around in the Q&A. So if you have some specific questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, or there is that questions tab as well. So Mike, just wanted to say thank you again for sharing your story with us. And I think we will have some good questions for you here in about 15 minutes or so. And I guess one final thing, again, just a reminder, if you guys want to check out Mike's website or Propel VR's website, it's propelvr.ca. So go ahead and check it out.
Thanks, Lou. And thanks, everyone. Cheers.
All right. So for the final portion of today's virtual open house, we are going to share some more information on CircuitStream as well as on the XR industry and where some of the opportunities lie. Jerry and I are going to tag team some of these last few parts of the presentation. So I'm just going to put back up on my slides here, do a bit of screen juggling. Okay, so we should be good to go. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is that we do have a Black Friday offer and a Black Friday sale. So if you are tuning in and listening, please stay until for the next 15 minutes or so, because I'm going to be announcing that it's the best sale or offer that we've ever done. So stay tuned. I'm going to share the details here shortly. Okay, so Mike obviously shared his experience. He's working at Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin is actually one of the companies that we've worked with both here in Canada, and we also have a team of people who have taken CircuitStream's training from Houston and Texas. And we've been very fortunate, since starting in this industry over 5 years ago, to have worked with some of the world's biggest and best organizations. So everyone from Lockheed to Nike, VMware, Walmart, Facebook, you name it, on both entertainment and personal projects, as well as on productivity apps and professional applications. So these are some of the folks that CircuitStream has had the chance to work with. To give you a sense, if you're listening in, maybe considering some of the courses on the different avenues and paths in the industry, I do have a few more very quick success stories from our alumni to share with you. So the three people that you see here on the screen have all been part of CircuitStream's XR Project Accelerator or XR Development with Unity course, and gone on to transition to different avenues in the industry. So starting with Mike Oakes. Mike Oakes has recently become a software engineer at Unity Technologies. Unity is obviously the 3D engine that we teach and are really big fans of. We're an authorized training partner and a channel partner with Unity. So after working with the CircuitStream team, Mike has transitioned into a new career at Unity, which actually just IPO'd and is becoming quite a large company. Second is Jennifer Swan. So Jennifer Swan is a VR content creator, and Jennifer's story that we love to tell is that she leveraged the project that she had created in CircuitStream's course to apply to Oculus Launchpad, which is actually a program that Facebook sponsors for launching applications onto the Oculus Store and helping VR content creators develop, design, optimize, and ultimately publish their applications. So Jennifer is taking part of the 2020 program, and it's going to be putting in an application actually also for a grant to Facebook to support her project through the Launchpad program. And then finally, Matt DeLallo. So Matt is an XR designer and has recently, just back in January, or not so recently, I guess, but just at the beginning of this year, started a new position at a company called Lucky VR. So Lucky VR is a startup that makes some of the most popular multiplayer VR titles. So if anyone has an Oculus Quest or a Quest 2, and you've ever played PokerStars VR, that's actually designed and developed behind the scenes by Lucky VR. So they focus on the kind of gambling and casino industry. And Matt is now a designer and a developer at Lucky. So those are some of the different avenues, whether it's working at a larger company, an application to another program, like Mike had shared that he was applying to an accelerator, Jen was in Oculus Launchpad, or working at a startup like Lucky VR. If you're working in the VR industry, those are some of the kind of the avenues that we commonly see our students take. Besides those three companies, there's over 2,000 or 3,000 other startups, studios, and large organizations working both for professional applications and in the entertainment sector. So these are all companies that are hiring and could be ultimately avenues for career transition and a career in the XR industry. So everything from Google to Apple, I see Microsoft on here. What else do we have on here? Lenovo, Amazon, PTC, which makes a product called Vuforia, Snapchat, NVIDIA, AMD, Jaunt VR, YouTube, whole bunch of different organizations, Capcom, Ubisoft, Shell Games. So again, it kind of range from small to large, and are ultimately opportunities for careers in the industry. If you guys want to take a look at that, I just put a link into the chat. That's actually where we pulled this image from. So it's a company called the VR Fund. So they actually have a list of all of these organizations. So if you want to have a look, just head on over to their website for some more info. Okay. So what type of careers are available? We often have people come from a diversity and a breadth of backgrounds. So it's not just software engineers and developers, although that is a lot of our students. It's often also UI, UX, and XR interaction designers, product managers, 3D artists and technical artists, producers or project managers, people working in QA, sound, instructional design, implementation, or in research. So there are a variety of possible careers that you can work in the XR industry, both around the actual production and developing of the content, and around some of the more kind of management layers of bringing the experiences to life. A couple quick facts here from Unity, just to kind of directionally show you what the opportunities are in terms of careers and transitioning to careers. So I will just pick out a few of the highlights. Unity and Unreal, the demand as compared to the market overall for VR and AR development and design is up over 600% last year. And Unity specifically, the job growth for Unity developers is projected to grow by 57% every year. Equally so, people with Unity skills on average are earning more than $20,000 more in their salaries than those without. And then the job growth projected for AR and VR related jobs was one of the fastest growing kind of engineering roles in the industry last year, with a projected growth of over 1,400%, which, as you can see, really just dwarfs some of the other technical fields here, compared to the market overall. So those are some of the opportunities. For those of you who maybe aren't as familiar with what Unity is, it's something that we teach in our courses and is one of the leading 3D engines. And Jerry is still backstage. So I want to invite Jerry back on stage with me. Jerry's going to share a little bit about how all of our courses and learning material centers around teaching Unity as a skill set and as an engine, and some of the specific verticals where we teach skills in. So Jerry, the floor is yours.
All right, great. So thanks, Lou. I'm back. So we have been using not only Unity, but a couple of tools to teach our courses in here. And as hello, Jason. And as Lou mentioned, there are a couple of jobs out there. There are a couple of competencies out there. The XR workspace, it's quite complex and multidisciplinary. So if you want to be more like a developer, that's possible. If you want to be more like a designer or a project manager or a producer, there is space for everyone in this environment, like in the XR workspace. And we try to help our students to find their paths to their dreams, like to the dream jobs or to what they want to achieve. Because for that, we have like a couple of different courses, and we can help you guys to decide what is best for you. So we have courses on design, we have courses on scripting, we have courses that are more device specific. So if we're focusing on an Oculus Quest, for example, using hand tracking in there, we have something for you. If you have a HoloLens, we have something for you as well. But if you want to be more like a generalist, want to understand this workspace, want to be able to communicate with the team or with the other developers in the team, we also have something for you. So there are a couple of examples over here or things that we offer and that we cover. So game engines, they are authoring tools. They are like a white canvas where we can build whatever we want. So they deal with physics, with 2D sprites, with 3D models, with animations, and with all the sorts of things that we need in order to make an immersive application. We covered from the very beginning how to navigate around the Unity and the Unreal interface. What are the menus there? What are the options in there? What they offer? What they do not offer? What are the limitations, the strong points? We cover scripting in the majority of our courses because you need to know at least a little bit of a programming language in order to express your ideas in the IDE. So that's not like the most important thing. If you don't want to be a developer, a programmer, it doesn't mean that the VR and AR workspace is not for you, but at least a little bit, it's needed to know. You need to know at least a little bit. We cover physics, interaction design, like what are the best practice, how to make a VR application that's not gonna cause motion sickness to your end users. So we cover all those things. We have audio specialization. That's very important in VR to make immersive applications as well. So we have like a wide variety of competencies and skills that are divided across all of the offers that we have in terms of courses. But what we want to make sure is that you can achieve what you want to achieve. So if you are focused on be more a developer or more a designer, we're going to help you to achieve that not only with the courses, but also with the support of the one-on-one instructors. So we have people that are experts and they are going to be at your working side by side with you to build something. Those are the main outcomes of our courses. So one of the things that we really focus here is on the portfolio. So all of the long courses, you're going to be building what you want to build. Of course, it's like, well, 10 weeks, maybe. It's not possible to build like a super complex, but as I mentioned in the beginning, we're going to help you to find what is the problem that you want to solve. And how we want to do that. So it can be a training, it can be a game, it can be wherever you think about. There are a variety of platforms out there. So we have Androids, we have iOS, we have the Valve, we have Oculus, we have Magic Leap, we have all of those things. We can finally help you understand the differences between those platforms and develop for specific platforms, or develop something that is more generic in the VR or in the AR workspace. Manage the prediction of the project. This is a very important skill. Like if you only have 10 weeks and it's only you working on a project, how can I make this project be beautiful in the end? How can I make this look complete and compelling and interesting so I can show that as a portfolio? So we are very focused on building your portfolio around the course, and managing this project is something that is very important as well, and your instructor is going to help you with that. Designing around the benefits of XR, because well, given that you decided to build something XR, how can we make the most of that? Why are we not just making like a 2D game that's playing on the screen, like in the mobile screen, but why I'm leveraging the VR and AR capabilities? So we're going to help you to understand what you can do with VR, why it's so powerful, and to design your application around that using the best things that we can. So if you have a headset that supports hand tracking, why not using hand tracking? Why not use eye tracking wherever you have available in there? So we're going to try to find the benefits of using the technology in the best way that we can and incorporate that to your project in a way that it becomes like a very immersive and interesting technology that you can change, that you can show to maybe to get a job or to convince someone to fund their project. So that's like our main focus. And leverage the power of industry network. We have our community. There are lots of people around. Lou shared a couple of success stories of people that got interesting jobs or that changed careers or that built their own companies. So there are lots of people in this network, our alumni, our instructors, our partners, and we are in contact with them, and we are building and nurturing this community. So you get in touch with amazing people that can help you to transition or to find a new job or something like that. So yeah, Lou is going to talk a little bit more about all of the courses and what they are about. And in the end, I can get back and answer a couple of questions to help you to figure out what would be best for you in this scenario.
Jerry, thank you so much. That was really valuable. So as he said, Last but not least, we've shared, the background and story of our instructors, as well as one of our alumni. I want to get into our academic offerings. If you're joining today's open house, you probably know that we have some new ones that we're super excited about and are kicking off in January. So I'm going to share a little bit now about all of CircuitStream's programs that are available if you're interested. So the most popular in our flagship program that both Jerry and Mike talked about today is the XR Development with Unity course. This is the longest running XR course in the industry. We're really good at teaching this course. We've been doing it for a long time. We're coming up on our 30th cohort. It's a part-time course for 10 weeks. It's all taught live online. We have our own learning platform where everything is housed and all of the interactions, whether you're interacting with your peers, with your instructors, all of that is flowed through an online learning platform that we've built. And then in addition to that course, the kind of follow-on or phase 2 is the XR Project Accelerator. This is also a part-time course. It runs for 8 weeks, and it is far more focused on our one-on-one sessions and on building out a personal capstone project. So the dates for those 2 courses are December 1st is the next cohort for the XR Development with Unity course, and January 5th is the next cohort for the XR Project Accelerator. We do have some pretty exciting Black Friday deals to share with you guys today, which I'm going to dive into here in a minute. So what does it cover? The XR Development with Unity, the flagship or our foundations course. It introduces you to the Unity engine and interface. It is a beginner-friendly course. It also introduces the fundamentals of C# scripting or programming. There's 4 hours of class per week, 1 one-on-one session, and 3 live class sessions. In addition to that, there's also an hour of office hours where you can come in, ask technical questions, share your work, get some guidance and advice from our instructors who just hang out in an office hours chat to help and support you on a specific technical problems or project that you have. It is a certification course, so we are working to actually provide you a certificate from Unity in addition to a certificate from CircuitStream by completing the course with our team. And then again, just highlighting that one-on-one support. The goal of this course, if you're brand new to Unity, is to help you prototype an idea that you want to work on. And by the end of 10 weeks, maybe you don't have a fully finished, polished application, but you have something, a prototype that is really that momentum that you need to get started. For the follow-on, so the Project Accelerator, this is that portfolio course that I was talking about. You do have to have basic Unity experience to join this program. It's 6 hours of class every week for 8 weeks, 3 of which is online class sessions, and then the other 3 is one-on-one. So you actually have 3 times the one-on-one amounts to focus on your personal project. Where our instructors are going to work on you and work with you to really try to accelerate the development of that project. Sometimes that's something that you're building and maybe you want to apply to launch it on the Oculus Store like Jennifer Swan did through Oculus Launchpad, or sometimes that's a project for work where like Mike is doing at Lockheed Martin, you want to rapidly prototype and then polish something so that you can actually implement it in your workplace. This also offers a certification both through CircuitStream and Unity, and both of these courses are taught part-time. Again, we're going to have some deals on the Project Accelerator as well, so I will share those here in a minute. Last but not least, we launched 7 new individual or short courses just last week around some really exciting topics that you've been asking us for. These short courses are also part-time. Some of them are certification courses, and they range anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. The short courses that we have on offer are a C# scripting fundamentals course, a mobile AR development. So for those of you who don't have a device, maybe want to build something on your Android or iOS device, an introduction to XR design, the Oculus Quest development foundations course, which includes a module on hand tracking, a 3D art foundations in Unity course. This is actually going to be a certificate course, an introduction to VR prototyping in Unreal. So for all of you who are interested in using Unreal, a HoloLens 2 foundations course, and then a HoloLens 2 hand tracking and UI course. all of which are kicking off in January. And for all of these courses, with the exception of the accelerator, there is no previous experience required. They are beginner friendly. So if you are a newbie to this industry considering them, please have no fear. Our team would love to work with you and help you get started in the XR space. All you need is a Mac or a Windows PC with an internet connection. You don't necessarily need a headset. If you don't have a headset, you can use your Android or your iPhone. If you do have a headset, we work with anything ranging from the HoloLens 2 to the Magic Leap to the Quest 2, Valve Index, some of the original generation headsets like the Vive. So whatever device you have, that's going to be the device that we focus on building and prototyping for in any of our courses. So I want to talk about admissions. If you are interested in applying, CircuitStream is a little bit different than some of the other programs out there. Like maybe you've been considering, kind of applying to something like a university who maybe has a VR or AR program. We do have Steph, Kyle, and Vlad on this stream today. I'm sure you've seen them in the chat. So they are actually available at the beginning of even considering attending or joining a CircuitStream course. They're more involved in the process than you would typically see at other learning organizations or something like a university. So they're there to answer any questions you have, whether it's about the outcomes of the course, whether it's a technical question about the Unity or Unreal Engine, or any other information on our programs. They can really kind of offer you that advice about what tools and technology to use and how to get started offering your idea at the very beginning. So this is a free service that we provide. Like I said, they are in the chat. And the best way to get in contact with either Steph, Kyle, or Vlad from the admissions team is going to be through a landing page that we've created specifically for Black Friday. And that's what I have up next. So if you want to get in touch with them, if you have some questions about any of the programs, I'm going to put a link into the chat here. And it should also be coming up shortly as a pop-up. So that is the link to our Black Friday landing page. Like I said, if you do want to submit an application, this is going to be the best way to start a conversation with the admissions team. And now, saving the best for last, I want to share what some of the Black Friday deals are. So these are going to be offered for a limited time from Black Friday through to Cyber Monday. And we have 3 bundles. So I'm just going to talk about each bundle for those of you new to CircuitStream who might be looking at kind of a variety of our courses. So bundle number 1 is what we're calling the VR starter pack or the XR starter pack, actually probably more VR. And it includes the XR development with Unity course. This is our 10-week foundations course. It also includes the C# fundamentals scripting short course. So this is the preparatory kind of introduction to C#, and it includes an Oculus Quest 2. So if you enroll for this course, we're actually going to ship you an Oculus Quest 2. This is regularly over $4,000, close to $5,000 of value. We're offering this for $3,000. So that is bundle number 1. Bundle number 2 is our advanced package. So very similar to bundle number 1, except it's the XR Project Accelerator, the C# fundamentals course. Again, if you buy during our Black Friday timeline, we're going to send you an Oculus Quest 2, and that package is $3,500. And then our final bundle, maybe you're just considering some of the short courses, again, within the Black Friday to Cyber Monday window, which is starting today for CircuitStream. If you want to choose bundle 3, any of our courses or programs that you buy individually, you're going to get 30% off. So those are our deals and offers that, again, all launched today. So if you're, if you've been considering CircuitStream and you're on today's stream, now is as good a time as ever to take advantage of, these once in a year deals. This is some of the best deals that we've ever offered here. So I'd highly encourage you to check them out. We do also have payment plans, so I wanted to throw that in there. There's 3, 6, and 12-month payment plans to help make financing a little bit easier. And I see someone asking about a list of the courses. So if you do want some more info, just visit circuitstream.com/learning, and you can see the entire list of courses there There is more information, so feel free to download a syllabus or submit an application. But again, really the best place to get started once you've browsed through those courses, if you want to get in touch, ask some questions to the admissions team, is through that Black Friday discount page. Once you click Get a Bundle, one of our admissions team members will be in touch with you and can really help you get started. Okay, the final thing here, I just wanted to make you aware, if you are coming from an educational institution or a business and want to learn more about this world, our team would love to schedule a private presentation with you, talk to your team and answer any of the questions or answer some of your questions about the way XR can benefit your business. We want to make sure that everyone knows that's available. We have worked with multiple universities as well as businesses, everything from Walmart to VMware to Indiana Wesleyan University. That's what I have up here on the screen. So if you're interested in an opportunity like that, I'll share an email address at the end. Just please send me an email. We'd be happy to come out and do a virtual presentation, have a virtual conversation with you and your team. So with that, thank you guys so much for attending CircuitStream's first virtual open house. Hope you learned something about our instructors, our alumni, the industry, and our courses and programs. If you do want to shoot us an email, you can email us at hello@circuitstream.com if you have any questions. Otherwise, Jerry, Mike, and I are going to jump back on stage, rotate through some questions. We have the next 20 minutes or so to do Q&A. So again, thank you guys so much for coming and hope to have you enrolled and part of our community in the coming weeks and months. Okay, so Jerry, Mike, if you guys want to jump back on, we can dive into Q&A.
Oh, hello, I'm back. I was just scrolling through the questions in here, sorting them out by upvotes. So if there's something that you would like to have answered live, just upvote that. It makes our life a little bit easier to find them. So there's a good one in here, which is this: would these courses help us to get Unity certifications as well? I know there are several out there. Yeah, definitely. So the 10 weeks course, for example, it makes you almost ready to pass the entry-level certifications in Unity, the associate level. If this is something that you would like to have, like the Unity certifications, the one-on-one instructors can definitely help you throughout the process of the course as well, like giving you best materials, assessing you. Certification is something, it's like 70% being good at Unity and 30% knowing how to do an exam, because you have time, you have questions. Yeah, so you need to be prepared for the exam. We can definitely help you, and there are a couple of courses in there that matches directly to the entry-level certifications. Unity also offers some professional certifications, and for those you need to have like professional experience. Like they require that you have 2 years or 3 years of working experience. So it depends on what certification you're planning, but for the associate ones, like the entry levels, the courses definitely prepare you, and the instructors can also prepare you, help to prepare you.
So a couple here that I see from Laszlo and Domino. I can answer probably two at once. Laszlo's asking, do your programs qualify for any government funding? And then Domingo is asking, is the payment plan available for Black Friday bundles? Yes to both of those. Yes, there are some that qualify for government funding as well as the payment plans. Please use that link. Maybe we can pop it back in the chat. Get in touch with either Vlad, Steph, or Kyle from the admissions team. They can get into detail and provide you some of that details offline. But the answer is yes to both of those. Maybe we can find one for Mike, because we got Mike on here as well. I'm scrolling down the list. Mike did have a lot during his when he was live.
Yeah, and I got a chance to answer a couple by text as well.
Oh, okay, excellent. For my team backstage, maybe we can jump into one more, and if there are any other good questions for Mike, we should just Slack me one of those. We can surface one and then try to answer that. In the meantime, Jerry, there was a good question from Chris Rojas, which was, what's the difference between the HoloLens 2 Foundations and the HoloLens 2 Hand Interactions course?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. So when you buy a HoloLens, most of our students or most of the people that buy a HoloLens, they don't know how to set that up. They don't know how to wire Unity and the Visual Studio to that. And it takes like a couple of hours to actually be able to build just an empty project to the HoloLens. So the HoloLens 2 Fundamental is going to get you ready for develop and deploy your project. It's like only 1 week course. It's like 5 sessions, 1 hour. If I'm not mistaken, it's 1 hour per day during 5 days. And we're going to help you to set up your HoloLens, create a project in Unity, bring the MRTK on, set up everything that you need to build, and build something very simple to your HoloLens. So it's basically like how you can get started to your HoloLens to deploy something from Unity there. And this is quite challenging, especially if you are like a completely beginner. If you already know how to do that, like you have a project, you already played around with the Unity and the HoloLens, then the hands interactions and UI is the second one. It's the second course. So this is assuming that you already have the HoloLens set up, the project created, and then we're gonna dive into the MRTK, which is the mixed reality toolkit from Microsoft, and understand how to grab things, how to make gestures, how to detect spatial map. Well, this is basically everything fundamental in the MRTK. So we're gonna be learning how to develop complex interactions using your hands and the interface, like the holograms in the HoloLens. So they are complementary. If you already know how to set up your HoloLens, then you can potentially take the second one, the HoloLens interactions in UI. But if you have never touched the HoloLens before and you are completely lost, then I recommend that you take both of them. But that's a good question.
Awesome. Thanks, Jerry. Mike, there was a question from Jacob Weiser, which you had already answered because it was from 30 odd minutes ago, but might be a good one worth acknowledging. His question was, is there a process to become employed at a VR technology company or development companies in general? Yeah, it's stop there.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I would say, yes, the Circuit Stream community that you'll get access to as a student and as an alumni, including the Slack community there. There are VR tech companies like Propel VR, as well as larger ones that do post job postings there. So certainly you'll be exposed to the community and the networks to look for that kind of opportunity once you finish the course. So I would say the short answer is yes. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Jerry, any other questions there that are catching your eye?
Let me see. This one is good as well. Can any of the Unity-based projects be used for virtual production? It seems that Unreal Engine was the only recommendation, but I thought that Unity was updating to include higher-end graphics capability. Yeah, so finally, Unity has 2 rendering pipelines, more than 2 actually, but more the popular ones are the Universal Render Pipeline, which is more generic. You can use it for mobile devices, maybe something that is more simple in terms of visual, but they also have the high definition render pipeline. So if you're working with films production or something which is AAA, super realistic, you can finally use Unity for that as well. So yeah, Unity has the high definition rendering pipeline.
Jerry, we've got another one here from Domingo, and he was asking, what's the course that touches most on Magic Leap?
That's a good question, actually. The HoloLens course, the thing is, the Magic Leap is dying. It's not being supported anymore. But if you still have one and you're interested in one, I think that the HoloLens courses, they are the most recommended for you. Because in the Magic Leap, you also have hand tracking, holograms, the things are very similar, and you can use MRTK for that. The MRTK is supported to some extent in the Magic Leap as well. So it depends actually on what's your experience and how deep you want to go. So if you take the 10 weeks course, for example, you're going to learn everything about Unity, and in your one-on-ones, you can focus on the Magic Leap. Or in the HoloLens courses, you can use the MRTK for the Magic Leap as well. So I think the HoloLens would be the best match, I would say. But the Magic Leap is dying, so maybe it's time to think about the future.
Any other questions? Maybe one for Mike in our audience. I'm tabbing back and forth between the chat and the questions tab here, just kind of scrolling through. But if you do have a burning question, now would be a great time to jump in. There was actually a pretty great question that maybe we can just come back to, because we get asked it a lot. And Mike, I know you had typed an answer, but if you're okay to repeat what you said, Luciana was asking, what headset do you guys recommend prior to a class, or probably in general?
Yeah. For sure. So the great question, and kind of a fun one. I would definitely say that if you're just getting into the space and you're on a budget, and I think it's smart to not buy the Lamborghini for your first car. The Oculus Quest is a great device for that. You get a high quality standalone 6 degree of freedom headset. Plus you can with Oculus Link you can use it as a PC VR headset as well if you want. So some great value there. If you're a little bit more comfortable with the space already, or you have the budget, I would recommend. I've been an HTC Vive user for a long time, still very comfortable with that system. But I have also tried the Valve Index and the HP Reverb G2 are two systems I've also played around with, and fantastic systems as well, visually stunning for sure. And then if you're in the industrial side or on the military side, I see them quite often. I'm also impressed by Vario headsets. Less focus on gaming and stuff, but for training and military and healthcare type applications, they have some cool devices as well. But yeah, I would say start with something like the Quest would be probably the most common answer. Yeah, for most folks.
Mike, I'm curious. Quest is obviously an incredible consumer headset for the reasons you mentioned, but for the projects you're working on, which are military and medical, what are the people you're working with? Which hardware do they lean into?
That's a great question. So in the healthcare space, they're using they've had a VR lab for quite a while. The school we're working with, so they have Oculus Rift devices in there. So we're working with Oculus with them, and then on the military side, for the C-130 stuff, it's mostly HTC Vive is what they're using. So and increasingly, like I said, I've noticed in both those verticals that they look to the consumer devices more and more. So I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing Quests in some of these places. I haven't yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if that starts coming up, especially when you talk about on the aerospace side with military aviation. It's very common that like up to a quarter of our aircraft fleet will be deployed somewhere around the world. They're in Africa, they're in the Middle East, they're in Asia, they're far away from home in Canada, and they'll bring training with them. So the portability of something like the Quest is powerful for that. So I think that will be looked at as well as something they could pull up into a maintenance backup kit. Some cool augmented reality applications I've seen too, where they're able to bring in field service representatives with like a telepresence system for those deployed locations. So yeah, there's all kinds of considerations there in terms of what the operating environment is and stuff. But yeah, I've seen the same sorts of devices actually as on the consumer side, largely.
So on the augmented reality side, because you just touched on it there at the end, and it's probably an obvious answer, knowing how Microsoft works with larger companies, but just curious, are there any augmented reality deployments, and what devices are they using for those, if so?
Yeah, so there's a couple. There is Microsoft HoloLens is used for that field service representative application I've seen at Lockheed. They also, I'm not sure if they still are, but a year or two ago when I was involved in that, they were using Toshiba Smart Glass as well, which is a device I haven't tried myself, actually, to be honest. I've tried the HoloLens version, but not the Toshiba one. So those were the two that I've seen. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. I think it's the same on our end when we do projects for various clients in the past. You know, they like the obviously the tetherless or the wireless capabilities of an Oculus Quest, and you know, start combining that with Oculus for Business on the VR side, and it starts to become a pretty powerful tool, just being that it's portable. And then equally so, you know, seeing some of the same things in the kind of early implementations of the HoloLens 2 in a professional setting. Laszlo had a question, where is our campus, which Steph already got to, but I will just kind of circle back on it. Are all your courses virtual? So we don't actually have a campus. We were, I guess you could say, kind of, we didn't jump on the remote bandwagon when COVID hit. We were already kind of a fully remote team and a fully remote educational company. So all of the classes that we've provided are provided virtually, which, you know, has some great benefits with COVID here, and you know, just being able to attend and to learn and to work with our team and our network from the comfort of your own home. So everything is taught virtually through that learning platform and portal that I mentioned earlier. So we've got one place where you log in to access all of the curriculum, project files, repos, lectures, interactions with your students and instructors, or your peers and instructors, as well as we use things like Slack. So we have a Slack community that has a couple hundred alumni in it, who are, you know, active and kind of helping out with questions and providing resources and the like. Yep, everything's virtual, and those are some of the tools that we use to really kind of leverage the advantages of being fully virtual. Krish just had a good question here, which came in, and she was asking, "Hi, Mike, how was your experience with the Ottawa Incubator, and how did they add value to your project?"
Great question. My experience was very positive with Invest Ottawa, and I would say they added a lot of value for us because Propel VR is a team of 4, and there are 2 of us who are developers and engineers, and then 2 who are more on the business side. But we don't have accountants we don't have lawyers. So it was very, very valuable for us to go from, you know, 4 interested parties in VR, with you know, long resumes, but not those not familiar with, you know, should I incorporate at the federal level or should I incorporate in my province? You know, that type of question. So some great stuff there. And then also with even, you know, what should I put on my website? How do I set up search engine optimization? All kinds of things that, you know, I've heard about, but far from an expert on. So they surround you with advisors in areas that, you know, you're going to be absorbing a lot of knowledge very quickly. And even if you don't retain it all, you're now in these networks with these professionals. And, you know, like Invest Ottawa, for example, they're partnered with accounting firms, they're partnered with law firms, and they offer actually very competitive discounts for their partner firms. If you're looking to use services from other professional companies that can complement, you know, what you bring to the table. So I would say they're great networks. They love tech companies, and they will surround you with people who will complement your own skill set. So don't be afraid of the fact that, you know, you're not a lawyer and you don't have, I don't have an uncle who's a lawyer in my back pocket, you know, so they will help you with that kind of problem. And they will put you in front of people and push you, I would say, too. You know, the pitch event at the end, it was a bit of a competition, was phenomenal. A great experience, you know, for us to go up and pitch ourselves as a company. And we happened to win that. So, you know, if you put your heart into it, you'll do well. And we got great momentum from that. You know, people approach you after that kind of thing. So yeah, I would say they'll push you in ways that, you know, perhaps you didn't expect, and they'll surround you with people who will help you, is what I would say.
That's a really great answer. Thank you, Mike. Jerry, there's a good one here, I think, for you as our next question from Nirali, which is there any workaround for using virtual reality headsets with a Mac?
So yeah, the workaround is installing a Windows on that Mac. So yeah, actually no, there's no good support for SteamVR. Doesn't work on Mac anymore. They don't support that. So most of the people working on a Mac for testing with VR, they have problems. So the workaround that we know that works is installing Bootcamp and having a Windows running on the Mac, which is not a huge problem. The majority of our students that use VR, that use a Mac, they do that. But using the Mac OS system, not really. So you need to install Bootcamp and Windows there.
Awesome. And then there's another one for you, Jerry, from Jacob. He was asking, given how young the AR industry is, how long do you think this technology will take to gain widespread use across industries?
That's a really good question. It's young. Actually, it's not that young. Like AR, I've seen AR like 15 years ago. The thing is, it's not super well spread yet, but it's moving quite fast, especially now with big companies making things to transform that into popular technology. You have like face filters and all those stuff. You have Pokemon Go. So those are like light forms of AR, but they are AR. And now with the Oculus Quest, which is cheap and accessible, so I think it's gonna take just a couple of years, like 5 to 10 years the most, to everyone having VR headsets at home. So I think that this is changing super quick. Like 10 years ago, I didn't know about VR headsets, and nowadays most of the big companies are using that for training already. It's not like in every single house, like for entertainment, but the companies are using that already. So the Army is using that. Not only that, like airlines, oil and gas, mining, medical companies. So a lot of those companies, they are already using it. It's just like it's high end at this point, but in a couple of years, it's gonna be a lot more popular. So I don't think it's like predicting the future, and not possible to give like a very accurate answer. But I think in 5 years, we're gonna be seeing like a lot more VR headsets out there, and probably AR headsets as well. So the HoloLens is super expensive nowadays. It's not for the final consumer, but in a couple of years, we're gonna have like similar technology for everyone as well, I think.
Absolutely. Maybe when Apple releases their headset, that'll be the Spark. The title
probably.
may be more appropriate. Abby had a good question that I can answer. The question was, are there any examples of platforms that would equip a VR or AR content creator to distribute content to subscribers and control access? So the answer is yes. Probably the largest one is the Oculus platform. So Facebook has an annual conference every year called it's called Facebook Connect, formerly Oculus Connect. And they released this year that there's some new distribution mechanisms outside of the Oculus Store, which has traditionally been a very tightly curated process to kind of apply and have your application listed. So they now have some kind of new forms of distribution that include some of the features that you mentioned. So distributing content to subscribers, or like controlling subscriptions, and then controlling access. Maybe that's in a kind of a user management or professional setting. I saw that someone backstage from our team, Jason Campbell, was typing an answer there. So Jason, if you want to have a stab at that, please feel free. But Abby, basically, I would recommend just review some of those talks from Facebook Connect, or just check out the Oculus documentation and platform, because it is equipped to do what you're describing. There was another question, and I don't know, Jerry or Mike, if either of you want to take a stab on this, but this one was from Laszlo, and he was asking opinions on the HP G2 Omnicept.
The Omnicept part is that the same as the Reverb G2? I haven't heard that part of it.
I think it is. I'm just Googling it. I wasn't familiar with the Omnicept part either, but I think it is just referring to the...
Well, I can speak about the Reverb G2. I've had the opportunity to try that, and it's, I would say, first, visually stunning. The headset, definitely some great displays in there. The tracking system is solid too. You know, it's not quite the same as if you have a Lighthouse-based system and you want to reach behind your back. But if you're not worried about that, if you're doing something like, I love it for sims, like if you're doing a flight sim or something, that would be very cool headset to have, because it's you'll be able to see every little button and switch and screw in the panel. A beautiful headset, I would say.
Awesome. Well, everyone, I think that's the end of our questions. So just want to thank everyone in the audience today for joining us at Circuit Stream's virtual open house. It was a pleasure having the chance to share some information and just to talk to you today. Mike, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story as a member of our community and of the broader VR and AR community. And likewise, Jerry, thanks for hopping on today. Stay safe, everyone. Stay healthy, and hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks, Lou. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.